my best stuff is like, hey, everyone, Dr. Kennard, we're starting a little bit early, but that's normal, right? I think that's okay. Tobin Templeman, BigZebra.com. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Good.
Doing well.
You're doing well, huh? Wow.
Yeah.
I'm cold. I had to tramp out in knee-high snow.
I am sorry to
Ooh.
hear that. You guys are supposed to be getting a lot more snow, aren't you?
Sorry, I had two video streams on at once. Did you get a terrible echo?
I did not get a terrible. I got no echo whatsoever.
Okay, that's
I
good.
didn't hear the echo this time either.
No.
It was just me then,
Okay.
but it's fixed now.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we had a huge blizzard. I'm about 90 minutes east of Toronto.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and of course, you too. Frozen pipes, sir.
Frozen pipes. Yes. Woke up and tried to make some coffee. And
No luck there.
I was able to get a bit of water out of the faucet before it just stopped altogether.
Ooh.
And then I said, "This is not good."
So what do? You blew a hairdryer on the pipes like immediately under the sink, or?
No, because it's the whole. Okay, so the problem, because of course I went over around the house and to see if every level of the house had no water, and it didn't. So that meant that it must be the water main coming into the house.
That's
That
a problem.
So, yes. So basically, our water comes through this little from another unit, right? Because we're in a condo, we're kind of like in a townhouse kind of condo situation. So the water pipe comes in through a crawl space. The crawl space is freezing cold because it's kind of like sealed off from the rest. And so we had to pop that open to grab everything out of the crawl space because it was just getting in the way. And then we jerry-rigged the girlfriend's hair dryer to shoot.
Excuse me.
Sure. To shoot hot air in where the pipe was coming in from. And then we also put a heating pad on another pipe. So, and we realized that this was not a long-term solution, because how long can you put a hairdryer on? It turns out hairdryers will last a long time. You can let a hairdryer run for hours. So,
and it won't explode.
And it won't explode. No. But we saw the potential.
It is hard on it, but it will last.
Yes. And we secured the hairdryer too, so that it wouldn't fall over. And so we got a small space heater. But by the time we came back from Home Depot, the pipes were already unfrozen. And mind you, I'm making like a several-hour story short. We didn't get water until like 4:00 that afternoon or so. So it was a process. And then I called a buddy of mine who's done work for us before and asked him what he thought. And then we couldn't find. Yeah, so it's the joys of being here in this place. I mean, it's a good house overall. I have no real complaints about it. But yeah, we had frozen pipes, and now we have to think about dealing with this probability in the future when things get really cold, because it was like 9 degrees Fahrenheit here. And whenever I say 9 degrees Fahrenheit, I always feel like that's the if there's nothing else, that's a way to self-identify as an American. Here I am. I'm going to talk to you about the old-timey temperature system we call Fahrenheit.
Well, it's hard to switch to metric. I still find myself translating feet into centimeters or meters and so on and so forth. And I think of a foot and a half of snow, not 36 centimeters or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah, I can understand that. So simply sitting Secular Dave asked, how cold was it? It was 9 degrees over, and it had been cold for days too. I just want to point that out. So it just wasn't one day of cold. It was several days of varying intensities of cold, but still still under freezing. And the pipes, this is the pipe situation. No one knows. What it is that, once again, we have kind of like a townhouse situation. And this is a new building where we're living. This is a new building that is kind of attached to a pre-existing building, because the original, oh man, this is getting into home ownership stuff, which is probably what people's eyes glaze over. But when they renovated this spot here, this piece of land, they renovated the original building, and then they realized that there was enough land to put a new building on. And so I think what happened is that there is the engineering. This is maybe the American Sign Language for effing up piping. I don't know what it is. So I imagine that they did some kind of slipshod method in getting the pipes in, either through the other building to us, through an unheated, through a poorly insulated spot. That's what I think. I think that's the main problem. People just kind of did a slipshod job, and we didn't notice it because we had people come through. We had more than one person come through the house, but it's such an odd thing that you wouldn't think, oh, the pipes are going to freeze. But in retrospect, it was obvious. Yeah. Yes, John
What's
Hudson.
awesome now, though, is now there's plexi pipe, and that stuff the water can freeze inside of the pipe, and it can just stretch to it. I've already played with some of the stuff. I've worked with it. That stuff is awesome.
Well, this is what saved us, I think. You're right, Tobin. I mean, you're spot on. Is that we had the plexi pipes. We didn't have the copper pipes. If we had copper pipes, I think that would have been trouble. We would
Game
have been
over.
in trouble. Yeah. But that was the first thing that my buddy asked me, that what kind of pipes we had. And says, well, the plexi pipes less likely to burst. Less likely to burst. And so that's good.
If you have the PEX.
I've even played with that stuff. Yeah, the PEX pipe. Yeah.
What are we going to say, John Hudson?
You can even heat it up and mold it and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
I prefer the copper pipes. Insulating them, you can put actual heat to them. Take your Mac gas bottle, heat them up. Try to do that with PEX, and you'll have sincere problems. I don't know much. I only built homes for 40 years.
That's all, John Hudson. The man somewhere in the void, somewhere.
I don't know what the hell happened to the camera. I came on first, it showed my picture, and it's probably a good thing. I think I fucking broke my camera this morning by just looking at it.
Oh, well, this is your good side, John Hudson. You have your
Oh, shit.
There was a lot of tequila involved this week, and I'm feeling kind of ugly.
Well, that explains maybe the camera misfunction. I don't know. So John Christian from the chat says, I had to learn the tricks living in Nova Scotia, coming from Toronto. First 3 winter pipes froze. Yeah, I could see how that would be a problem.
My father once dealt with frozen downspouts by putting an electrical cord through them and running a charge through it.
Yeah,
so it raised the temperature just enough to. But I don't know how it's done without triggering a firehouse.
It's not. I've got them ran on the cisterns where I collect the water up top. We'll get a freeze. We're going to get a freeze this week, and I put heat coils on them and plug them in for a couple of days. When it gets cold, back in Utah, I ran them all winter. All my gutters were like that. I had heat tape and actually ran heat coils up on the roof to where I didn't get ice dams, thus not the damage to the shingles.
So John Hudson, were they heat? So you just said heat coils, because I've heard that you could use something akin to jumper cables. I mean, specially designed jumper cables for
it's specially designed. All it is it's like an extension cord that you wraps with, and then I've got I got them insulated around that, and then I just plug it in when it's going to get cold. In Utah, I had them on to where there's on a switch. I had different switch for the back and one for the front, and would turn them on if we was having foul weather. That's one thing I don't. Texas, these houses are built on a slab. There's no foundation to speak of. They don't do the 3-foot frost barrier. They have a lot of problems, and
Yeah,
it's
dude.
just because they build ill here. They don't think they get cold. They get cold.
My girlfriend grew up in Houston, and we were talking as we were going to Home Depot to get a space heater. She's like, yeah, um, Houston would freeze. It's like, for Houston is subtropical. You guys had freezers. She said they do, but I don't know.
They break.
And I trust, yeah.
Last year when all that stuff went on in February, you go down to the Home Depot, you couldn't find a piece of PVC.
Yeah.
All the common fittings and stuff were gone. I've got buckets of it from my contracting days, and I was giving it away. I was giving it away to people. I think
Everyone needs a friend like John Hudson, someone who is a contractor. I think that's
You're sort of like Johnny Appleseed, only with plumbing equipment. Going from place to place,
and seeds.
distributing fixtures and U-bends.
I do it with seeds too.
Well, you got to be able to water your seeds too, right?
Damn straight.
So, John Christian, I was reading this article about rat control, and this is what the city of Chicago did, and I forget where I read it. It was from a legitimate magazine, from a legitimate newspaper. There is a substance that you can put in water that will make female rats not bear young. It sterilizes them for all intents and purposes. So, and in Chicago used it to help control their problem. And it isn't like poisoning, it isn't like regular rat poison, which can get, other animals sick. But this, maybe if you leave out some of this here special water, the rats drink it, and then they don't have rat babies. I don't know.
I've got a Boston Terrier that takes care of any of the mice and rat problems.
Yeah. Well, that's what they were bred to do, right?
Very effective too.
Yeah.
What did you say you used? Did you say you had a terrier, John Hudson?
A Boston Terrier, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's a ratting little bastard.
That's what they're made for. God knows they're.
It keeps our ecosystem healthy here.
Yeah,
dude.
And that's kind of what I'm doing here is holistic farming and gardening. Everything from the chicken shit to the Boston Terrier has its purpose.
D Park says, I got chipmunks under my deck. Keeps the cat entertained watching them. Oh, I imagine. When we have warmer weather, because Somerville, it's a great place where I live. It's a great city, but we do have a rat problem here in East Somerville, and my cat would spend dusk, on her little perch by the window and chirp at the rats. As disturbing as that is, that was her evening activity.
It's like cat TV. It's cat TV. You go out the window and watch the critters.
Indeed.
Does Biscuit have her claws or his claws?
Oh, yeah. Biscuit. In fact, we just gave her a little toenail clipping or a little, So we would not declaw our cat, even though she's an indoor cat. I've heard that it messes up their nerves in their paws. So, and Biscuit's actually a good cat too. She doesn't put up that much of a struggle when we do, clip her claws.
Well, they'll control any problem if it gets in the house.
What's up, Jenna? Hope you're doing well this morning. So I'm going to be on the Tang channel. I just was talking to Wes the other day, and I guess it's going to be, they're doing some kind of party or some kind of get together, and I am slated to be on there on Wednesday the 26th at 8 p.m.
Nice.
And I guess it's some kind of celebration, and so I just want to let you all know about it. And of course, another announcement, which I should be talking about in the other show, which I'm horrible about mentioning stuff that I should be. I'm a very irresponsible YouTuber or self-promoter. I'm a bad self-promoter. Is that Only Sky? I swear to my fictitious god, it's actually launching on the 19th.
Sure.
So that, I know, dude. That's what my girlfriend says. She's like, every single time, because it was supposed to launch
days from now.
It is a couple of days. I'm pretty excited. And I'm going to be. Thank you, Jenna. I'm going to be on this other channel, PSF, not on Tang. Thank you. I know about it, Doc. This is the thing, everyone. I'm really good about, like, when I was doing this joke theft thing yesterday. I was a guest on Robert Stanley's show. I prepared for that. Like, I did some basic research, but there's a lot of things I don't know. I am literally just tell me where I need to be, and then I'll do my thing, whatever that thing is.
Something about joke theft is that it seems to come, like, when comedians go to another level, say like Amy Schumer bumped up a level, and then she hires people to write new material for her because she's going to need it. And then the people that write the material, I think, steal jokes. And then you end up with someone like Amy Schumer, Amy Schumer? Yeah, Schumer. Getting blasted. And I'm not so sure.
Well,
it's a mess, frankly.
Robert Stanley on the Right to Reason YouTube channel, he did a nice, maybe 15-minute video on some examples of joke theft and comedians talking about joke theft too. And there seems to be some blatant outright theft. Like, not, like, they take the premise, they take the punchline, and they kind of, shine it up a little bit and twist it a little bit. But
Well, you only need to change an idea by 10% to make it patentable.
Yeah. And it's very similar with, there's no patenting of jokes anyway. They're just basically out there. And so, before we actually diverged, or before the conservative in the group completely derailed the conversation, we were actually having a good dialogue about joke theft. But maybe conservatives ruin everything. Maybe, is that possible? Maybe YouTube conservatives ruin everything.
They ruin everything, and they claim it like they own it or some shit.
Yeah.
They bitch about the cancel culture, but they started the fucking war.
Well, yeah. From the people who honestly advocate hell.
I joke thief. Like, whenever you see jokes, that are in comment sections or that I put in the chat, I'm totally going to a site and finding something that makes me laugh. And I have been, though, like, changing some of it so, like, it fits more of, like, the topic or whatever. But
jokes are hard to write.
I am a joke thief.
Yeah.
Like, really, I only got, like, every once in a while.
Also, Joe Biden did something odd or laughable tomorrow, and we all sat down in our different homes and wrote 10 Joe Biden jokes.
Yeah.
How many of us would either hit the same mark, same sort of joke? Because sometimes joke telling is more craft than pure originality. For example, an asshole politician in Britain had a vanilla milkshake thrown at him, and he was completely covered in vanilla shake from head to toe, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I put in a YouTube comment below, "Oh my God, I hope the vanilla milkshake is okay."
Yeah, right.
And the thing is that the vanilla shake, I should say, not vanilla milkshake. Vanilla shake is funnier than milkshake, but having said that, that's simple reversal, and I think it would occur to a lot of being concerned for the milkshake rather than the politician who was hit by one.
Sure.
That's simple comedic reversal, and we see it all the time.
Yeah.
It's not new.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, John. No, go ahead, John.
What I find funny is everybody thinking of the same thing at the same time. Oh, it's that collective consciousness that we're just sending the waves through the universe. Spare me,
I see it in music too. There was a year Tool and Radiohead put out albums that had the multi-layered pictures. Like, it happens in other stuff too.
I'm sure it
Well,
does.
it's just culture at the time. I mean, it kind of leads us to the same conclusion. Is there a collective consciousness? No, but is it a sign of the times? What's going on? Yes.
Yeah, there's only a set amount of ideas or popular ideas in the culture at any one time, and it's logical for people to use those as premises for jokes, right? I mean, so there's like those kind of jokes, and then there are like deeply personal jokes that come from, like I had a bit about me getting held up, for an example, or that weird instance I had with my with my with my sister, who happens to be adopted too. Some kind of weird story like that. So there's one thing about just these street jokes, or these jokes that just these throwaway jokes, right, that are just out there, and then it's a different thing, I think, than stealing someone's personal story and trying to weave it as their own. I think that if I'm going to have an issue, when I have an issue, that's where I have an issue. Yeah,
I think if you're not professional, it's perfectly fine to steal somebody's joke and use it. You know what I mean? You're not trying to make a buck off of it. What do they say is the biggest form of flattery?
theft.
I can't remember the word, but
Theft or imitation.
Okay, yeah.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Yeah.
Well, something else too is Mike Lindell. I saw a commercial on him this weekend talking about, I'm a victim of cancel culture, and here at My Pillow, we're celebrating you that are victims of cancel culture by selling our pillows at an extremely reduced rate.
He lost the Bed Bath and Beyond account. They don't sell his pillows anymore. That's a big problem when your retailers don't want to touch your stuff because you're an ass.
Well, your brand becomes toxic. Yeah. I mean, if you are your brand, and that's what Mike Lindell is, he has specifically, he is the face of My Pillow. And, when you drive it into the ground like that.
Any company that's on strike, immediately stop buying it. This household anyways. And support the workers. Local 520 electricians union. Woo! That's my son-in-law. He got an offer. He's going out today to go meet with some people, union company, where he's going to just be sitting down with the plans and going over and ordering the product they need for on the job. He's like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, you do want to do that. You want to be busted up like me at my age, I'm like, well, take that office job.
You're right about that, John Hudson, is that people in the trades often can get banged up pretty hard. I was hanging out with this guy when my kids were taking karate, and he would do drywall, or he would be, working, and he would always have to, he couldn't move his shoulders. He couldn't move his arms like this, because his fucking shoulders are blown out, So, yeah.
Ouch.
Yep. That rotator cuff, but that's common. You don't see old drywallers because they're crippled. Concrete guys, brick guys, they might make it to retirement, but then a couple of years into their retirement, they're dead.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when we talk about retirement, there really should be kind of. Go ahead, Tobin. What are we going to say, brother?
There was a pair of guys. We were building a house. All right, I was part of a build. All right, and these guys, they're elderly dudes. Two elderly dudes, still doing brick masonry. But they had pulleys. Like the way they worked was just it was very smart and very methodical and thought out. Well, they're cool to hang out with.
I invented a cleat system. That's
a rarity.
I invented a cleat system 20 years ago that I can take drywall, the ceilings, slide them into my cleats, and then with this pivot cleat, take and turn it, and that sheet's suspended over my head until I'm actually able to tag it with a screw.
That's pretty
and
impressive.
secure it in place. And
Trying to get drywall up on the ceiling sucks. God.
well, but with this cleat, you just slide it into the one end of the cleat, and then there's a pivot cleat on the other end of the sheet, and then it's suspended over your head. It works out very well because I'm able to take that sheet of drywall as it's hanging over my head instead of just nail it. I can put it into the corner, slide it around a little bit, get the sheet tighter, and then tag it with some screws. It really. I went up against two union drywall guys. They did one half of the ceiling. I did the other half. They finished 20 minutes before me, but that was two guys against me, and my hang was cleaner. The mud guys that have to come in and do the tape and mud work afterwards, they're like, what monkey hung that shit? On that
Dude,
side.
where were you a couple of years ago whenever I was actually doing that stuff? That stuff sucks. That's like one of my least favorites.
I've thought about taking this to market, but I tried patented a toy years ago and spent 20 grand just to find out it wasn't patentable. It is still marketable, but I went through one of the patent companies that, we can help you.
Oh, those are rip-off joints.
Oh,
they're awful.
Yeah, I learned.
There's so Simply Secular Dave, I just posted that up in the comments. There's very few old guys I work with. Dave works on the docks.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, and who don't have a thing like a knee, back, shoulder, finger kind of, thing. Yeah, I can definitely see that. And that's tough work. It's tough physical work. And the thing is, people who do that kind of work for 10, 20, 30 years, they should retire earlier than white collar workers. I think that, if your body's all banged up from the work that you do, then retiring, what's the retirement age for people I think regular retirement is 70 at this point.
But you can take it early at 62.
Yeah, you can take it at 62, and then you get like a really small amount of money.
Well, I don't get no money, but I have some money.
You got some sweet coffee can money. That's what you got.
But I put the kids in a place where they're able to take care of me. And so I was able to retire at 57. I have no income coming in except the hummingbird feeders and wind chimes and selling a couple pieces of art here and there. Now I do the photographs with the daughter now. But the photography money that I have come in, I'm just like, you keep it. I go do a shoot for you. I go help you at the shoot. It's not going to cost nothing because, it doesn't cost me nothing to be here.
Right.
And I'm with the grandbabies every day.
That's nice.
Awesome.
That's nice. Yeah.
In fact, she's having her mom come out next month, and my ex, and I'm cool. Me and her had the split up was for the best, and we've always got along. So it's like, my buddies are like, "Oh God, the ex old lady's coming on. But you're hating life." I'm like, "No, really, I'm kind of looking forward to it because she is a good lady. She's learned to be great with her daughter. She wasn't much of a mom, but as she's aged, she's come around. They talk daily. I see a love between them that I wish would have been there forever."
Well, when you look at I know we've talked about this a number of times, the happiness curve, right? People typically become less a-holishness. They do. They become, once you hit like your mid 40s and you start going up, you start becoming happier, and it just makes you a better person, right? You're not as miserable as you were back in your 30s.
Also, there's a wonderful thing that can happen when the children get older and they end up with a different sort of relationship with their parents as two adults, rather than was far superior to any relationship they had when the daughter or son was a child.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, I felt once my boy hit 18, I felt that there was a big weight off my shoulders. I mean, you're always going to be a dad. You're always going to be a parent one way or the other. But I definitely felt like it was similar to the pressure the weight off my shoulders once they started going to school when they were 6 years old. It's like, well, that was like one major hurdle, that I jumped over.
Well,
And yeah.
the big difference between me and Mel was I was 31. She was 21 when we got married.
Oh, dude, that's a tough age, 21. Yeah.
Well,
You got
yeah.
a whole lot of living ahead of you. Yeah.
It was too early for her. I was ready to be a dad. I really was. I don't, shit, she hadn't lived life. But at the time, I'm like, why can't you just be a mom, do mom things. Well, she wasn't ready to be a mom.
And women too. I'll say this, is that not everyone, I'm going to say the obvious words that you all know, is that not everyone's cut out to be a parent, right? But yet we all feel a societal pressure to be parents, and that's not good. That's not good that we all feel. It should be okay for people to say, like, without any kind of pressure, that, I've decided to opt out. I've decided just to have a couple of cats, regardless of what dogs say.
Well, you know what His Holiness says about that? You're selfish having cats.
But why would you want to have people bad at parenting have kids? You're just going to make more miserable people in the world.
I wanted 6 kids. I've got 1 kid and 5 dogs. So.
Hey, something strange. You know that huge volcano that went off in Tonga?
Yeah.
And then they think that it might have been so bad as to trigger tsunamis, and may have done. And I'm the only person I know who's actually written an atlas, and I'd completely forgotten about the goddamn nation of Tonga. It's actually a nation.
Oh yeah.
And,
it's U.S. territory.
And I don't remember it. I don't remember what I wrote about it. Nothing.
Mm. Well, there are a lot of movies,
I knew a bunch of Tongans. The LDS Church brought a bunch of Tongan Samoans. I grew up with them. A lot of people had problem with them. I always liked them. Great people. Fun as hell parties. I mean, if you haven't had a pit cooked pig, you haven't ate pork. Nice. In fact, my ex's sisters, 2 of them were married. One was married to a Tongan, one was married to a Samoan. And I just love the hell out of the guys. They were, like I said, their parties were fun. They're a hardy race. Them gals can really cook it up, and I was skinny, and they're like, "Oh, eat." Yeah.
So Tonga strikes me as, well, one, I'm just looking at the map right now, world map, where Tonga is. It's, for those of you who don't know, it's over northeast a bit from New Zealand, and it's considered to be an Oceania officially, but it's a good distance away from New Zealand too. It's a good distance. It strikes me as one of those countries that's going to suffer horribly from climate change.
Like
well, they're very low lying. It's not like the Hawaiian Islands where they're mountainous and such. It's kind of a flatter area to where the tsunamis could be a real problem there.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, Tonga is a Polynesian kingdom of more than 170 South Pacific islands, mostly uninhabited. Yeah.
They the thing I read put it about 2/3 of the way from Hawaii to New Zealand. So God knows that's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Indeed.
And I looked around. I didn't really find much for film footage. Just a bunch of waves hitting the place, which wasn't very helpful.
No, man.
Being in England, it's hit by waves all the time.
Did you see the blast by satellite?
I did, dude. I just saw a picture of that. That's nuts.
Dude, when I saw that, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Just because that big cloud that comes out of in the middle of the ocean like that, it was pretty wild.
It looks like it's bigger than the entire island. To tell you the truth,
Mm.
it's almost as big as the entire island. The plumage from the
Yeah.
explosion.
Yes, beautiful plumage. Is it like live action photography from a satellite, or is it just a couple of
Yeah,
stills?
it shows it like nothing to boom. You know,
Oof.
Yeah, tough stuff.
you have it in front of you, Andy.
Yeah, I do. I have
Yeah,
it.
can you put it
Yeah.
in chat so you can
Oh
share
well,
with the rest of
I'm
the show?
working on my second screen here. I got it on
Oh
my second
no.
screen, and so and as you well know, not only do I not know a lot, but I know super little, and it would take me. If anyone wants to pull up on there and then share the screen with us, but yeah, I can barely do what I do.
I'm ignoranter than you. I'm really
Well, then I'll
technologically.
have to Google it myself.
You will have to Google it.
There
Oh,
you are.
Damn it.
Deep Parks writes, I loved having my kids. Hated being pregnant. I could see that. My kids aren't perfect. Yeah, yeah, yeah. One is out of the nest. That's great. Um, yeah. Actually,
Isn't she?
my kids and I and the girlfriend are going to New York City sometime in February. Um, and, you know, gonna hopefully there's typically not a lot of people in the city around that time. And we're all vaccinated and boosted and everything. So, and I still think I might be. I'm not going to use the word immune because I know that's not true, and I know that's me being psychotic. But I've been when I was around her for days when she had COVID, I didn't get it.
I found it.
Oh, you found it. Good. So we're going
Yeah,
to be
I'll
heading
put
to
it into public and private chat for the.
All right, dude. Yeah.
I've always wanted to go to New York and just spend a week going to shows.
Yeah, dude.
I love live theater. It's would be just boom.
Oh,
I'd
do
love to see it.
yourself a favor and go see the Upright Citizens Brigade. It's a small ass comedy club, and they have such brilliant people there. You want to see it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely worth seeing. And I've gotten the best tickets from Tickets. I believe that's the name of it. Is right. There's a kiosk in Times Square, and they basically sell discount tickets, same day tickets. And I've gotten some great deals, cheap tickets for great shows. And you just have to stand in line for like an hour, for an hour or two. And that's one of my superpowers is to stand in line and talk to people. And, yeah.
That is a superpower. I stand in line. I want to punch people.
Well, maybe that's not the right option for you, John Hudson.
but I've got a daughter that's amazing. Can do anything. Fits into any thing from barroom knife fight to to just the any social situation. She adapts.
Well, John Hudson, if you ever come up to New York City, you should let me know because it's like only a 4.5 hour drive or so for us, and we'd be happy to spend some time in New York City with you. I think that'd be freaking hilarious.
Go throw down some pints, have some fun.
Oh, yeah, nothing but trouble. Nothing but trouble. I'll get my lawyer activated early just in case. Get the bail money ready.
Just we'll go by the police station, say I'll drop off 5G or something, and I think I could. I think I could keep the crimes under $5,000, bail.
Yeah. Glad to hear it.
I like the idea of a lawyer that shouts, "Lawyer powers activate."
Yeah, whenever they walk into a courtroom, I think that'd be hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I had that guy in Salt Lake when I got busted. Ed Brass, that man was phenomenal. He goes sits at the prosecutor's table. They weren't in yet. Throws his feet up on their desk, and they walk in, and they're like, "Oh, Ed," and standing around, and none of them sat down. He's like, "You're going to be dropping everything today." They're like, "Oh no, no." It's like, "Yeah, you are." And brought up the evidence and stuff, and that's they asked for an extension. When we come back in, they dropped 12 of the felonies. Made me a deal for one. Attempted cultivation, fine and stuff, but versus a life sentence in prison.
For
And
what? Just marijuana, right? Just bullshit
right.
marijuana.
Well, I had a gun collection too.
Oh, well, that could get you
There,
into trouble.
there wasn't a fucking bullet in the house, but I had a gun collection, and so I got a felon for each one of those. And
Wow. Yeah, you collect those pretty fast.
yeah,
So you're
yeah.
collecting felonies as well.
Well, these were heirlooms that were handed down through the family.
Mm.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
Were they weapons? Yeah, I could have fucking bludgeoned somebody with them, I guess. But do that with a hammer,
Yeah.
probably a lot more effectively.
Well, you see those old, when guns were relatively primitive, they had the big, what amounted to a big ball hammer at the end of the, so you would shoot, because these are like flintlocks or maybe even matchlock rifles. So you get your one shot off, and then if you really had to, you could just spin the weapon around and use it as a club.
Well, I had a collection of there was 4 different British 303s, World War I weapons, and they all had bayonets on the end of them.
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
know, so when they're laid out in the driveway, with 13 guns and stacks of marijuana,
Gosh, that looks actually incriminating.
yeah. And then when the news comes on at noon and says you're on the run, because they busted me in the morning. I was gone. I went up to a doctor's house to replace a couple water heaters into tankless systems, and so the detectives called me. I told them, well, as soon as I got this gentleman's water on, I'll come turn myself in.
Right.
And so the news at noon, I'm on the run. The
Yeah.
wife's in custody. It was a family organization. I have a 13-year-old daughter in school.
Yeah.
And the thing about that too is I turned myself in.
Yeah.
They had the X. Nobody asked where my daughter was. She was with her grandma. Before I turned myself in, I hired an attorney.
Yeah, well, that's wise.
I went in there with an attorney. I'd cleaned out my bank accounts in case they tried freezing that shit. Left my daughter with $15,000 at her grandmother's. Said, don't bail us because they got 3 days to file. Then we know what we're up against. Well, that was the weekend. They don't count that. So I did the 5 days, and so did she, the ex. And then when they let us out on OR, they never filed charges. They come back later with the charges.
Huh.
And in that time, we proved that they had trespassed the property in order to gain their search warrant and such, because it was in a greenhouse. They trespassed my property and actually broke into the greenhouse.
Breaking and entering by the cops. Not good.
Yeah, it was dirty. It was dirty.
Godless Scummers writes down that he had an old percussion lock musket. The one time I went shooting, my buddy had a replica of an 1850 revolver, and so you had to like pack everything in to each cylinder. And I shot it, and it's like a freaking explosion in your hands, right?
It is an explosion in your hand.
It is an explosion.
It's gunpowder, and then you got a wad there, and then whatever you want to project out that barrel.
Yeah,
it could be nails. My dad was a gunsmith.
Yeah,
and so we had some fun stuff. He made like the blunderbuss that it was just black powder, and then the wadding, and then would load it up with nails and stuff, and shoot it at a piece of plywood, and it was cool.
Yeah.
But Dad, the way he would grain his he did all his reloading. One of the things he did with an M1 was to had a clip that he made for it that would go out there and shoot that gun, and he'd keep temperature of the barrel and such to see how many shells can go through the barrel of that gun before it actually started to warp.
Yeah.
From the heat.
Yep. Yeah, you could go on YouTube and you can, and, I don't know the gun. I'm a gun rights person. I guess I should say that, but I am interested in military history and military hardware. And there's a whole bunch of YouTube channels out there just showing, automatic weapons having their barrels basically, turn white hot, first red hot and then white hot, and basically melting or starting to melt.
Yeah, there's all kinds of experiments. I've seen an experiment where they shot into like PVC pipe, and the dude like put all kinds of bends and curves in the PVC pipe, and the bullet will actually follow through the pipes, all the bends and stuff. It's crazy. I don't know. There's some entertaining stuff that has been put out there.
I'm pro gun, but I'm pro gun control too.
Yeah.
There's certain people that should not have guns. Period.
There's a lot of folks.
But as being pro gun too, I tell you what, firing off 100 rounds in a couple of fucking seconds is give you complete wood.
I will say this is that like I said, the one time
it's orgasmic.
It was not a. Excuse, I'm going to cough. I'm going to shut off my mic for a second.
Go for
it. Thank you, Jonathan, for elevating this show once again. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to what Dave said here. Dave says his uncle had so many guns that he had 2 gun safes in his trailer park unit. And when he passed away, it became a problem to deal with all the guns and ammo that he had stored. I can see that. You
can take the gunpowder and dump it all over your garden. Nitrates in it. It's good for it.
Nitrates are in fertilizer. See, I know something. I know that nitrates are in fertilizer.
So yeah, it'll give you the greenest lawn around.
Yeah, nitrates are in fertilizer, gunpowder, and rider trucks.
What's that, dude? Tobin?
Oh, I said nitrates are in...
Okay, we're gonna try it
again.
You
go, Tobin. You go. Do it.
No,
if
Tobin.
It's
all
you,
brother.
Tank, you can have it pump into your garden, and it will make your fish produce nitrate as well.
So the fish poo, if you take the fish water,
the fish themselves, fish fertilizer is phenomenal. I did a lot of fishing in Utah, and I take the entrails and the head and stuff. And I got the idea from Dan Aykroyd with the Bassomatic. But no, I had actually turned it into a slurry, and that was part of the voodoo juice that made it to where I could grow pot plants where they weren't supposed to grow so good.
Well, also the skeleton of the fish has a lot of nitrates in it too. They found a weird thing out in BC where, for some reason, old growth forest was really lively and had all these plants growing in it that it shouldn't have. And it turned out the bears would take whatever they caught from fish, like salmon, and instead of eating it on the spot, they would take it into the forests, maybe 10, 20 meters, and then eat it. And they'd leave the bones behind because they just strip off the flesh with one paw swipe.
Sure.
And the bones had a phenomenal effect on the growth of plants.
Well, I would, as a contractor, I would take the tile slurry when it was like doing marble or slates and stuff. I'd actually take the slurries home in buckets and dump them in the garden area. You get potassium, phosphates, calcium, and stuff that the soils are depleted of. And
minerals, right?
And one of the things I did too was filings, iron filings. They went out in the garden to add a source of iron back into the vegetables. Copper. I put copper in my garden and such too. FDA or USDA came out in 1939 saying American soils are depleted of trace minerals. Therefore, you don't get them out of the food. I feel healthier when I eat off my own food, is what I'm getting at.
Sure. Kyle Scummer, this is an interesting because Paul Camish was on this channel too, and Paul has a great YouTube channel. Paul's in Britain and has guns, and he came on the show and talked about the levels of security you have to have if you have a gun in Britain, and that there would be someone coming to your house to make sure that your guns are safe. Total different than here in the States, where you can just have a gun in a shoebox underneath your bed, basically. And that's an example of responsible gun ownership, the model that they have over there.
There's two gun safes here. One of them is built into a wall that you don't even know it's there.
Yeah,
unless you know it's there. That you've seen the house, Andy. It's pretty well.
Oh yeah, the house is pretty cool. Well designed.
And even up in the big shop, that's where Nick's other gun safe is. It sits up top, and it's pretty fancy. It has to be plugged into the electrical because it's got a dehumidifier on it and stuff in it, and it's a pretty cool thing. But they are locked away from the kids, and I guess me. I don't have a way into them, but I do have a crossbow. So
let's talk about what in terms of how life is different now than it was back in the mid '80s or so. This is old-timey story hour. Is that my dad would change like the oil out of the car and then just dump it on the property. He wouldn't dispose it properly. He would just be like oil.
That is.
You guys were probably on well water.
I've done digging and then hit some of those spots, and it smells so bad. Like you can actually dig a hole, and like you get so far down, and you're like, you can like it. I don't. Oh man. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, my dad but my adopted dad was a little, wacky, So I my girlfriend loves this story. Is that we would get for a little while. Now we lived in Brockton, Massachusetts, which was a industrialized city during the made shoes. The place was famous for two things: Rocky Marciano and making shoes back during the industrial age. A heavily polluted area. But my dad insisted for a couple of months at least to go get some water from the Lithuanian village in Brockton. And he would drag my sister and I, and we would carry these empty plastic containers and literally get water from this little rivulet, from this little stream, and then bring it home for drinking water, because he was so cheap, he wouldn't want to spend the money for water at the store. And somehow he thought that the water that he got from this untreated stream was better than water you'd get off the tap. Oh my God.
All it takes is for someone to do an illegal dump upstream somewhere, maybe toxic materials, and you're screwed.
When I was selling real estate, I had a listing out in the Magna area of Salt Lake, and it's kind of was a rundown area and such. And one of the other agents said, "Oh, I wouldn't take listings out there. Their water's horrible, Yeah. And so a couple weeks later, I filled up a jug of that Magna water, took it to the office, put it in the fridge, and I'm like, Stan, I was up at that artesian well up in Salt Lake, filled up a jug of water. If you want some of it, it's in there, And so he comes back. This is really good. You can taste the minerals and stuff in it. I'm like, you're drinking Magna water, pal.
Your water shouldn't be. I don't think your water should crunch. That's all I'm saying. I don't think your water should crunch.
Magna is right underneath Kennecott Copper smelter.
Yeah, that's
and it's an aquifer underneath there that the water's drawn from. So I'm sure, there's a lot of two-headed people out in Magna, some with the third arm.
Scummer says I would come on and talk about gun storage and guns in the UK, but the internet isn't great. But he says Paul is correct. The police come and regularly check your gun storage. Yeah. And Simply Secular Dave also points out that there's a similar level of gun regulation in Canada. Trigger locks, safes, ammo stored separately, compound bows and crossbows also have to be locked in a properly secured container. I did not know that about crossbows and bows and arrows. Interesting.
There's also a thing where in Canada you can own a handgun,
Yeah.
but since the only appropriate use for it would be at a gun range, it has to be kept there, and you need a special written permission in order to transfer the gun from wherever you bought it to the to the gun range,
Yeah.
which seemed a little crazy, but okay.
Uh,
It was to
keeps
stop
track of
people
it.
from walking around with their handguns, I think.
Yeah, I really see no problem with guns. I see problems with people.
Well, I will
I
say
think
this
mental
is,
health would definitely,
yeah,
if that was more important.
I think that guns are an accelerant. They just, you put something, you put that kind of power in someone's hands, and if they're not a state, and the thing is, we live in such a shit society here in the States too, in a mean late stage capitalism kind of society. Once again, man, it just creates this kind of meanness, not that smart, angry,
Desperateness.
desperate. And with all those guns, man, that is like an accelerant to crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is a difference though when you have to go unlock a safe rather than just grab your gun.
Yeah. Well, you can see how the levels of gun violence between like states that have a better social safety net system and better gun regulation. Like there's a lot of guns in Massachusetts, but we have a lot of gun laws too,
Well,
right? And
they've got
people,
better health care in them places, and I think that's where it all starts.
it does. It does. I will say, I've said it once and I'll say it a million times. The best thing secularists, atheists, humanists, progressives can do is just push good health care,
Well,
universal health care.
just I get frustrated with my eyes, and all it takes is magnifiers to.
Yeah.
That's why I've got glasses in every color there are. They only cost me $1. But
Right.
uh, uh, the last dental care I had, I went down to Mexico because I don't have insurance, and I can get it done for. It was less. I was probably about. Well, I don't know. I saved 75%.
Hmm.
You
Oh yeah,
know,
yeah, dude, definitely. I can
versus
say that.
being in El Paso. Juarez is as close as downtown El Paso from
I,
where I
I,
was living.
I just want to touch on Dee's point here. We need gun control here in the U.S., but it's late to pull back now. I think if we ever see really drastic gun control, it'll be because the fascists have taken over and they just decided to take. Um, they just get sick and tired of all these militias, right? It's like
I
what,
agree with you.
yeah,
I would
yeah,
agree with you. That's when the problem would.
yeah, yeah. I mean, over time, hopefully, if things go well here in the States, if we don't fall into this kind of fascist banana republic form of government or deeper into that, then yeah, gradually there'll probably be less and less guns and more responsible behavior. But like I said, if it was a sudden kind of like one, wow, all these guns are just disappeared, it would because fascists were in the government, and fascists only want one group having guns, and that's the fascists. But that's just my guess. Dental care is expensive in Canada, huh? Dental care is very
Oh
expensive in
yeah.
Canada. Well, you know, if I ever run
Which
for
blows my
president,
mind. It's like very little material like that they're actually using inside of you, like in small amounts of drugs and stuff.
yeah, yeah. Well, I had if you want to see a discussion about gun control and what went wrong here, Professor Alan Lichtman did a good congress. This is a number of years ago about the history of gun ownership here in the states, and he wrote a book. Abolish the Second Amendment. It was repeal the Second Amendment, and he talked about how the NRA got co-opted. There was a power seizure within the NRA with more radical elements. They took over the organization and really worked hard to redefine what the Second Amendment actually means, legally speaking. But once again, you can see the conversation. Just got to look up Alan Lichtman, Lichtman. He's a great guy.
Oh, you hear these people just saying, "No, I only keep my guns in case the government tries to take over." Your gun's gonna work against a cannon, and you
Yeah,
know.
well, these are the same people who probably don't vote. These are the same people who don't get informed. These are the same people who don't, try to be better thinkers, right? Maybe you should be spending your time educating yourself on the issues than just holding on to your guns. Yeah, yeah, man. On that happy note, this is an hour. This has been an hour, everyone.
Oh, that was fast.
It is fast, isn't it? Same thing tomorrow, same times. If you want to show up. That'd be great. Thank you, John Hudson, Big Zebra, Tobin, everyone in the chat.
Hey, it's been real.
Yeah.
Shamala.
Hamala.
All right.
That's right.